Hello, welcome again. And moving on with our next panel discussion. The topic of the panel discussion is future of technical education in school. And for this, we have esteemed panelists in our side. I welcome Mr. Pritam Kumar Agrawal, founder and director, Hello Kids Education, Bengaluru. Welcome, sir. Dr. Mansi Agrawal, managing director, Squatics Early Year, Delhi. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Manju Rana, Principal cum Director, Seth Anandram, Jaipuria School, Ghaziabad. Welcome, ma'am. And for this session, we are having our moderator, Ms. B. N. Chakravarthy, Principal, Pragathi Central School, Hyderabad. So, moving on, I'm just sending over to Chakravarthy, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. You can start the session.
Hello, everybody. Very good afternoon. We have a very interesting topic to take our session forward. Welcome to all the audience who are here to watch this session. We have very eminent panelists here with us, and the topic is the future of technical education in schools. May I first request the panelists to kindly introduce themselves? A quick introduction, please. Mr. Pritam.
Thank you, Elets, and thank you, Chakravarthy madam, for inviting me on this panel. It is my pleasure to be with you all eminent personalities, and I'll be sharing my views on the technical education in schools. So I am Pritam Kumar Aggarwal, founder director of Hello Kids Preschools and Riverstone Schools. We have 690 plus preschools across India, and we have 8 K-12 schools across India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. So thank you for connecting with you all, and looking forward to listen to you all and learn more about technical education today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pritam. May I now request Dr. Mansi Aggarwal to introduce herself.
Thank you so much. I would also like to thank Elets and fellow panelists, and especially the audience who's there to attend the show and the session, I would say. And my name, as mentioned, my name is Dr. Mansi Aggarwal. I'm the founder and managing director of Scottish Early Years, which is a Montessori preschool. And looking forward to this session and constructive discussion, I guess. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mansi. May I now request Ms. Manju Rana to introduce herself?
Yeah, so I'm Manju Rana, Principal cum Director with St. Anandram Jaipuria School, Vasundhara, Ghaziabad. And our group has a very strong presence in Uttar Pradesh as well as at a pan-India level. And I'm really looking forward for this session on technical education. And I would like to thank Elets for organizing such a wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thanks to all the panelists. Thanks to Elets for getting us all over here for this wonderful discussion. Well, future of technical education in school. I think in schools we call it vocational education, and as the children go higher up, we call it technical education. So, so far, at least in India, it is catching up, I must say, a little slowly. But yes, the future is definitely to skill India. That is what our government is promoting very strongly. It is very important for the youth of India to be skilled. And if I have to, look at the statistics, India is ranked the world's largest youth population. So that is definitely a very interesting aspect. India being the largest youth population, I think this is where technical education comes into the prominence, the very much, as to why the youth of India must have some technical skill on hand, because technical skill is not today just a job skill, but it is pretty much a survival skill, I would say. So while we take the discussion forward, firstly, I would like to ask Dr. Pritam, what do you think is the importance or prominence of technical education in schools? Because it is not much heard of in schools. So you are actually running preschools, the youngest of the lot. So what is your take on bringing technical education forward?
Thank you so much. Chakravarthy madam, I'll just give you an example before I speak on technical education. There was an article on LinkedIn yesterday, and it was a very huge gigantic ship which has really got stopped, and they have to call an engineer to fix up that ship. And the engineer came and he was able to understand what the problem is. He took less than a minute, and he has really did the basic for that ship, and the ship got started. And he has raised a bill for around $1,000, right? $1,000, and he said that those who are supposed to give the payment to him, they said that we need a breakup of this $1,000. He said $3 for my job and the remaining $997 for my experiences, seeing the ship, understanding, utilizing my experience for the last 20 years to understand the right issue. So understanding technical education at an early level with that consistency, using it, learning it, and with the over of years of experiences, that makes the person a skilled person, right? So as if I'm talking about a preschool level or a school level, which is we are discussing today, that how important this technical education is, right? As you said very correctly, it is like a vocational process in the initial days, but in the later stage we call it as a technical this thing. So it is more of a practical understanding to your education, which we really on a theoretical we cannot give that education. It has to be on a work model where the child is experiencing at the school level, and over the years, if he is utilizing the same thing, he is employable, he is technically sound. It means he is able to understand the education, he is able to use the education in terms of getting the work done. More of practicality, it means the child's potential of understanding that technical education is out with his work done, which is we call it as a what do you call it, independent of that child, self-learning by the child. uh, I'll give you a small example at an early level of school, as a preschool level. F for fan. F for fan for me is just a mere education. But F for fan, which is a ceiling fan, which is an exhaust fan, which is a table fan, which is a air conditioner. These are all part of the knowledge what the child has gained over the years. In the basic preschool, it can be only F for fan. But over the years, the child has understood the different parts, different other ways of the fan, and how they get a cold air or a hot air or a some in terms of air conditioner or an exhaust fan. That is very, very important. With the over the years, if the child is able to use that learning in terms of the work done, this is practicality of technical education.
Yeah,
Over to you,
thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you, Mr. Pritam. Yeah, I completely agree, and there was that, yes, that was an interesting case study that did the rounds, with regards to how the ship stopped and, how that person was called. So it's not about how much of work that was done, but how practically it was carried out within very less time. Okay, so the smartness is what, comes along with that kind of technical mindset. Well, while I completely agree with Mr. Pritam, may I ask Dr. Mansi to kindly throw her light on what exactly she thinks of technical education being introduced in schools?
I think it's a great step forward because if you think about it, the technical education contributes a major share to the overall education system. And I don't think any of the educationists can deny that it plays a very vital role, very strong role in the social and economic development of the country. Because we cannot just focus on general education. Even if you look at the new education policy, the national education policy, it recognizes the importance of technology, the importance of vocational development, vocational subjects in aiding teachers and bridging the language barrier also between the teachers and the students. It talks about creating digital libraries, It also wants to popularize language learning. We've all seen, if all of us who have read the national education policy in detail. So it's just basically ensuring a greater access to education. The more the options that will be out there, the more chances an individual will have to succeed. If you look at India, skill-based education is considered to be a vocational skill, which is normally individuals, I would say, obtain through a short-term training process, which is not really a part of the formal education sector. What happens is that right now, since it's not part of the formal education sector, it does provide employment, but in informal sectors. Slowly, gradually, as it will move forward and become a part of the curriculum, it the people who opt for it, those who may not feel strong in subjects like maths and physics, they will have this option of working in formal sectors. The formal sectors will also evolve, new industries will come in, innovation will help. So, but that can only happen if that knowledge is there. And it's not an overnight process. We cannot. So one of the questions that I can see posted is, how can we take AI, robotics, coding, and other future technology in our curriculum? And of course, when we don't have such skilled teachers, it's not just we cannot have skilled teachers today. We also see that a country sets up an education policy keeping the next 2 decades in mind, because it's an ongoing process. If today we encourage technical education, vocational education, skill development, then over the years we'll have educated adults then who are then capable of innovating the industries and hiring the next generation. It cannot be done overnight. I mean, we all know that there is so much unemployment all over the world, and yet we all are always looking to hire skilled personnel. So that gap is there. People are looking for jobs, people are looking for employees to hire. But the options that are there, we don't want to choose from them because they're not skilled enough. They don't have the required technical knowledge. Even we as educators, we as heads of schools, we know that when we go out to hire teachers, everybody wants to become a teacher these days, but we have very little option to choose from when we start interviewing. We just don't like 90-95% of the candidates who come for interviewing. So I genuinely feel that it's a long road. It's very, very important. I think undoubted. I don't think anybody can refute that. I would hope not. And it just broadens the horizon. The subset of a subset, when we were only focusing on certain subjects 30, 40 years ago, when the only options that people had were becoming an engineer or a doctor, now that option is increasing day by day. And vocational or technical education is just another part of it that's just going to help the country grow.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I have nothing to disagree upon what Dr. Mansi has spoken. NEP 2020 definitely highlights vocational courses. Now, if I have to take that same question, as to how we are going to take AI and robotics and coding forward when we do not have skilled teachers at the moment, I think it is not difficult for any teacher to learn a new skill and take it forward. I think COVID-19 has taught every single teacher to be technically good in terms of handling the Google Classroom, the G Suite for education portals and Microsoft portals. I think many teachers have never done that in the beginning. But now we kind of got used to it. They really took it on them. Every single teacher, I must say, took it on to himself, herself. Okay, stood up and risen up to the occasion and learned what was required to be learned. And every single teacher across the education sector stood up, very, very proud to be there for the students. So they could have been locked down in many areas, but I think education continued, and it must continue. It will continue as long as we have passionate teachers who can take on, the very challenge of learning AI, whether it's now, immediately, or robotics or coding. I think, it will definitely take shape. Now, coming to NEP 2020, I definitely would like to, take it on from Dr. Mansi. I think, there is going to be a lot of emphasis on vocational courses. It's not that we do not have vocational courses today. I think, a couple of years back itself, vocational courses were introduced, but however, it was optional, particularly in CBSE schools, it is called the 6th additional subject. And the kind of promotion that the CBSE has been doing is, if a vocational subject is taken up, if at all the child, any child fails in the core subjects like mathematics or sciences or social sciences, the vocational education marks can be replaced. That itself is a big concession. It's a very, very big step forward to promote vocational education, because unless it is brought into the mainstream courses, I don't think children will take it in a very respectable pattern. Neither will parents. And I think technical education today is not just about, again, a job. It is about sustenance. It's about sustainability. I think the companies that did the most were all the outsourcing companies, like the Urban Clap, now called the Urban Company. I think they are filled with calls to get good electricians or plumbers. I think they are the ones who really had very, very promising jobs during this COVID-19. Academicians must have lost their jobs, but not the people who had the skill in hand, right? So it is, I think, very important to promote vocational education, which we call technical education. NEP 2020 is also coming out with 10-day bagless, internships with experts. Internship was never a word that was heard in schools before. But I think the National Education Policy is coming out with internships and promoting, vocational education right from grade 6, whether it is AI
Yes.
or, coding. It is really, interesting. And like, Mr. Pritam said, vocational education, initially we call it hands-on, at the preschool level, primary school level, we call it hands-on, activity-based, okay? But as we take it forward, that pretty much is called experiential learning, and then we call it vocational education, then we call it technical education, then we call it job-ready skills, okay? So it has many names, but I think pretty much the structure is the same. And across schools, everybody will agree that any, activity which a child has done, through his multi-sensory skills is always enjoyable, engaging, involving. So I think, children will definitely opt for technical courses if it is made mandatory, because many children today like, technical skills and, more of hands-on rather than, listening to somebody teach and trying to retain information just in the spectrum of retaining information. So if you look at this COVID-19 also, I think all of us are school heads. We all must have really experienced the fact that children, have really taken on and taught, teachers how to handle certain aspects of technology, right? How to present a PPT, because they are so quick in attaining these skills. They are ever so ready, to take up anything that is technical, anything that is hands-on, and they really, really enjoy doing it. So that's a very, very major step. And like I said before, India has the largest youth population. So when we talk about the largest youth population, they are aged, 15 to 24. And all of these children who move to +2 and further into universities must graduate with a skill, so that they have a plan B in place. Just in case they lose an academic job, they know what to do. And like Dr. Mansi said, with the technical skill, what happens is they can provide employment. They can set up their own small little, small scale industries, and they can, provide employment for many more people. Yeah. So that was, I think the discussion is really going very interesting. Moving now to, Ms. Manju. What is your take on the importance of vocational education in schools, ma'am?
Well, I take where Mr. Pritam left, that, I belong to a family of engineers. And if anything goes wrong at home, none of them are able to fix up. And they are from some of the finest institutions of the country. So, and at that point of time, it is a technician which is to be called. So, so I think that itself, very clearly says that how important technical education is needed. And you did quote about companies like Urban Clap, and we are so happy that such companies are coming up which are hiring these technicians, and they are being given that kind of a platform. And because you might say whatever you want to say over the platform, but end of the day, we all know and we all do understand that these are the professions, technical educations are the professions that generally children don't take up. In our school, like I can give you a scenario of a K-12 school. We do understand its role because it plays a huge role in building up a human resource development. And in a country like India, where you just said it has the largest youth population, but it's sad to see that a lot of them are unemployed. And I think this is because they are dropouts after class 12. They do not take up their programs up to a technical education. Every school has a SUPW program in the school. We call it as a WorkX program. And the kind of exposure that we give to the children, whether it is carpentry or whether it is digital marketing, multimedia, web designing, advertising, photography, event management, beauticians, and these are the courses also which are given to children in class 11th and 12th. But having said that, I think it is very, very important for us to see that how many of them pursue these courses when they leave the school. So I think that's the thing that we need to that the government should look into it. Though we have various ITIs and politics in place in our country, which comes under there is a special ministry dedicated to it. We have Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. But I think we also need to learn some lessons from. I just had a chance to go to Germany, and they have a dual program. I'm sure all of you know about that program. And this dual system of vocational training, it actually combines the theoretical and a vocational school setting. And it gives a hands-on learning experience to the children. They go to the industry, they build industry connect. They actually then come back and pursue the skill or the competency which they actually require when they take up the job. It also helps them to define what career options that they can choose on. So I think a little more emphasis needs to be given. I'm so happy that we are talking about skilling India. We're talking about competencies needs to be built. CBSE is doing a great job, like you said. The 6 subjects now can be replaced in case the child is not able. So these are all welcome moves, as far as it is concerned. And for me, if you ask me personally, yes, technical education is extremely important because, we don't know what the jobs are for the children, especially the young children who are entering the school. I have 2 panelists who are, are working in the early childhood education, and children coming to you are really, really young. We really don't know what is in store and what are the jobs for them after 14 years when they leave the school. So I think it's very, very important that we develop skills, we redefine skills, what is required. It needs to be a little broader, under a broader umbrella. And I think one of the panelists said that it is very, very important to give them a hands-on experience, and that's where WorkX come. And I just hope and wish that technical education is also being packed with the good job package. So, you have to make things lucrative for people to take them up. And if the financial compensation is good, I'm sure the children who take, these skill programs in the school will be able to pursue it as their higher education.
Yeah. Very true, Ms. Mansi. And what actually brings to my mind listening to Ms. Mansi is...
it's Manju. It's Manju.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Ms. Manju. Yeah. What actually comes to my mind is, besides, CBSE or any education board introducing these, vocational courses or technical courses, or the kind of, interest a school per se has, in trying to promote the same, I think somewhere I feel, please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel there has to come in, that kind of, dignity of labor concept has to come in particularly in India. Because, even if there is carpentry and plumbing introduced, I don't think many parents would want their children, to take up these because they always look down upon those skills. Yeah. So I think, dignity of labor is very, very important. How a parent orients, his or her daughter to look at these technical skills is, I think, the first step. So there is no point any board introducing any number of courses. It could be beautician, it could be first aid nursing, or it could be cooking, it could be any of these courses. But eventually, a parent should think it's a skill. You never know, it can pretty much become a survival skill. Okay, and the dignity of labor, once it sets in, I think the respect for all jobs should be the same, whether you are an electrician or whether you're an engineer. If that dignity of labor comes into India, I think there is a bigger growth, and the sprucing up will take forward in terms of promoting technical education in schools, is what I think. But then coming to the schools, we must
I want
also
to add
understand.
something there.
Yeah.
I think you very rightly said it's important to destigmatize the professions and this vocational education. And I want to give a little bit of an example. When I was completing my degree courses in the US, I just moved there. And in my apartment, there was, a carpenter, a handyman, as they call, who does all the jobs, all the odd jobs. So my landlady had hired him to redo the entire kitchen before I move in. And of course, going from India at a very young age, I couldn't even fathom what they actually earn. So I got to know that an average salary of a professor there, tenured or not tenured, would be about $100,000, $120,000 at that time, long back. And at that point, when I got to start talking, he would come every day. He was very sweet, old man, a lot of experience. So a young girl, wanted to help her out, was telling me a lot about the city. And by the end of it, he told me that he makes over $300,000 per annum. And that's almost 3 times than what somebody in academia working in a city like Boston, where it's the hub of education, more than 108 universities in and around, is making. So it's very important that we in our country also start destigmatizing what you pursue. Because essentially, you gave the example of Urban Company, Urban Clap. What are they doing? They're just bringing, people with technical knowledge together. And yet they are raising money. They are becoming millionaires and billionaires out there. So no job is small. It's very important to destigmatize, this kind of skill development and what a child may want to pursue. Another thing I want to say is, like you said, a student should have a plan B. I don't think it should be termed as a plan B. I think it should be okay if it's a plan A for them, because they might not want to pursue academia. They might not want to pursue a subject or engineering, or even for that matter, technology or robotics. They might just want to pursue that particular technical or vocational subject. And it should be okay. It should not be a plan B. It should not be that if you've taken painting or physical education, you 2% or 5% will be deducted from your percentage. I think it should all be at the same level plane when students enter the college, so that they know that this is not an inferior subject. It's not inferior knowledge that I have gained. I can pursue it and still be respected. That's it.
Very true. But that has to come firstly from the parents. It is
Yes.
the parents who have to bring that perspective into the children. Unless, the parents bring it, to the forefront, allow them to think. I think many children today, if you give them a free hand and option, they will definitely want to pursue technical careers, technical courses, because they love to do stuff. Right? But again, it is the parents who perhaps may not like them to take up, again, because of the stigma about the dignity of labor and things like that we still have haunting our country. Now, if I go to, Mr. Pritam, while we are talking about technical education in schools, we must not forget the fact that the cornerstone or the emphasis has to be on the infrastructure and also the faculty. So how do we raise these, raise on one side the faculty to train the various technical skills, the other side pretty much the infrastructure. It's not less expensive, right? It is expensive. So if we have to put these together and the kind of challenges that schools have, may we hear from you, Mr. Pritam?
All right. Thank you for this question, madam. Before that, I want to give you that again some background what Mansi was trying to give. See, as a parent and an educator, right? It is not about plumbing or an electrician who is learning the job. At the age of 10, 11, and 12, if we want to change a bulb or a tube light, if you are calling a electrician, it doesn't justify your learning skills, right?
Very
If you
true.
want to do a basic gardening skills at home and you are asking a gardener to come and do that, that should not be that education system. If you
Right.
are asking about a basic painting or a basic, see, I went to a school called Mayo College, all right, and I saw kids in the evening around 4 to 6, and they were doing carpentry. It was not a subject. It is not compulsory. It is only the child who wanted to go and do some work there. They had a very good art area. They had a very good painting areas. So it is not about a parent who is preferring or not. I do not want an engineer who cannot tell the size of the tile which is there in the floor. See,
Correct.
they have completed 3 years of engineering and they do not know this is a 2 feet by 2 feet tile. They need a scale, there is a measurement tape to measure it. And if I know it is a 1 bottle of Kinley water bottle, but can they say this is 200 ml or 300 ml? So we are talking about this this practical aspect of learning, which is has to be there at the school levels, where I do not want CBSE, I do not want ICSE, I do not want the state government or the central ministry to come and say that you add this curriculum, this subject to your curriculum. This has to be apart from your basic math and science and English. You have to see that what practical education is required at what age groups, right? That is very, very important. So I, as a parent and educator, I don't want somebody to instruct me. If I am asking about something in a basic of seeing a bottle and tell me what is the ml of how many milliliter of liquid is there in that bottle, right? That is that basic science or experience or the teaching which we have to train our teachers, which is your question right now. Our teachers, I know they have done inches, feet, and square feet or whatever it is, but teacher has to give the idea that what is our window size in the class, right? What is the feet of your chair where you are sitting right now? What is the size of my table? What is the size of your blackboard and whiteboard? At least by seeing it, you may not give the exact size, but am I getting the nearest of that part? Or if it's 2 feet tile, I'm asking about is a 4 feet, or I need to check it. Even the engineers are not able to do that, madam. For that, what I say is every school has got that same space. Space means the training for the teachers. Space means there is a thought process that we are going to train the teachers, students in the same direction. Making technical education or the vocational compulsory as a subject without any instruction from any of the government bodies. Teachers has to be trained in the matter of the basic sciences, where they have to see that with my curriculum, my subject, what is the practical use of that subject is important. If I'm staying 3 feet away and you are just telling 3 feet, what is the 3 feet? You are just calculating on a maths class, which is a very wrong maths class. Do you all know how much is 3 feet length? We need to check out that thing from the students. Now coming to some internships, which is very, very important, either after the school hours or during the summer time. If I have, my child has an interest of carpentry, my child has got a interest of painting or any other basic understanding, even the electrician jobs. I'm not asking them to be electrician, but getting the basic is very, very important, right? So in terms of a school and even a career oriented sessions in the school levels, which is very, very important to give them after these 5th and 6th grades. So to understand that I am capable of doing this, I have an interest of that photography which Manju madam was talking about, right? At an early age, which is very, very important. Early age doesn't mean that preschool level. Early age, it's for that after the pre-primary level, which is very, very important. Internship and that basic of soft skills. I am an engineer, but I'm not able to speak. I'm a software engineer, but I'm not able to present myself. I am an engineer, but I do not know how to use a what you call an Excel sheet or a PPT presentation, right? So we need to understand that soft skill which is required, and that to be, and these soft skills we cannot do it in 6 months and 1 year. You have to do for years. Trust me, these soft skills development needs 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years. So you have to start early for that also. So that is how I understand this basic technical education with that vocational, what we say, and early start, which is only a school can provide. Trust me, only a school can provide.
Well, in fact, when we bring in these vocational courses also, whether it is, IT or any of these, when we talk about it as vocational in the very sense, I think we have to give them 80% practicals and just about 10 to 20%, I think, should be the theory. But we see that even when Mr. Pritam is talking about engineering, you take engineering, for example, teaching is a technical skill. Yeah, teaching is a technical skill. We say if you have done your B.Ed, you're technically qualified to teach. But it is quite unfortunate that even in the B.Ed courses, most of it is theory and less is practicals. Well, I visited a school in the UK and I was very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised to see that the B.Ed courses happen pretty much in the schools. They don't have separate B.Ed colleges. They have a small study center within the school and it happens right in the heart of the school. So the teachers who are getting trained as teachers, I'm talking about the interns or the trainees, they have complete hands-on experience, complete experiential learning about what teaching is. They learn from, experienced teachers, and then they're already job ready. So I think if we can look at technical education in a very sense of making it, more practical, 80%, 90% practical, I think, like what Mr. Pritam said, I would certainly feel that it becomes like, for example, changing a light bulb. I don't think it is anymore called technical education. It is more a survival skill. We cannot pretty much depend on these little things on every single person every single time. So I think as we keep moving forward, we also know that the support staff that we have, all the children are getting educated. So by and by, we may not have anybody to support us in schools. We may not have people to support us, the domestic helpers, or anybody to support us in our homes. So I think teaching our children to work with their hands is the need of the hour. Thank you, Mr. Pritam, for that. Moving on to Dr. Mansi, we are talking about technical education. How do you think this can help, our young learners in schools to be more future ready in terms of their goal setting? How do you think so?
I think technical education is all about being futuristic. Because while we are talking about the basic survival skills, we are also talking about innovation. We are also talking about AI. We are also talking about technology. We are talking about fintech, edtech, everything being supported, agrotech, everything being supported with the tech platforms. The biggest of the companies that are out there, the top Fortune 500 companies, majority of them are, somewhere or the other tech platforms. So yes, it's all about providing special practical knowledge of technologies and skills, so that it promotes independent and self-learning. It tunes the student effectively, and it increases the potential of every individual. So I think that it's very, very significant. It is futuristic. The growth opportunities that are offered by technical education, whether, as I've said before, whether it's for employment or the fact that it sets, I think, every individual for making a successful career. The odds of somebody with technical knowledge or with skill, with developed skills succeeding in a career is much higher. The probability is much higher than for someone who does not, have that knowledge. And especially, like you mentioned before, during COVID, and otherwise also in this current digital age, technical education contributes to, as I mentioned before, a major share to the overall education. So it has to be taken very seriously. We talk about things like nanobiotechnology. They're all about interdisciplinary studies. Subjects are overlapping, and that's how innovation is happening. That is how growth is happening. So schools definitely need to focus on offering more and more subjects, offering a cross selection of subjects, not just by restricting the students and saying that they are a commerce student or a humanities student or a science student, because unless they are given the options, they're not going to be able to grow. Unless they're given an option to study. My own, my best friend's daughter, she had a very I would say unique combination of subjects in grade 12th, and this is also back, about 6-7 years back. She was blessed and privileged to go to a school where they let her take psychology and biology, and she was not a science student, so she took economics along with that, and political
In
science.
fact, NEP is promoting that now.
Exactly.
Cross-disciplinary, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do. I don't think I can be a science student, but I want to have the option of studying biology in case tomorrow I only want to pursue something from the psychology background, or if I want to pursue biopsych, for that matter, biopsychology. If I want to pursue, I don't want to study subjects like physics and chemistry. But most schools even today don't have that flexibility, don't have a flexibility for somebody to take accounts and not business studies, or to somebody to take business studies as a humanities student. So unless we give those options, not just in higher classes, but right from grade 6,
Very true.
because we cannot expect students to study something for 2 years and know whether that's what they want to do in life.
True.
Having practical exposure, that's where the NEP comes in place. Having exposure to internships right from 11 years of age would definitely help students become more focused. A major problem, all those, I think, Manjuji, I'm sure you deal with a lot of adolescent students, and you see that while a lot of them are focused and they know what they want, majority of them still don't know what they want.
Yeah.
So the earlier we start, if we start from grade 6, I think it will really help give them direction about where they want to go in future, and that will also help give the schools that direction, that what are the options that we need to provide to students so that they can have a better future, a brighter future.
Yeah,
So I think
right.
that's it. I genuinely feel that on ground level, each individual, we cannot just say the government is offering this policy. We as individual schools need to look
Must be
forward.
convinced. Yeah, we must be convinced to do
We
it with
must be
passion.
convinced. We
To do it
have
with
to have,
passion.
simple things like the private universities now require a writing module. They require some kind of writing tests. Nobody is stopping a school to individually offer once a week or twice a week in the timetable a class which is dedicated to improving writing skills of a student. Nobody is stopping us from doing that. Yes, we have a CBSE curriculum that has to be followed, and yes, we have the English as a subject, but we all know that writing skills and creative thinking skills is something that the entire generation lacks, because they study English as a subject, because they
True.
study English as a grammar subject. Then they don't study English
As communication, as means of
exactly.
communication.
So we need to think on ground level what we require in a school, what
True.
parents require, what students require, and make changes to the modules accordingly.
In fact, what Dr. Mansi is saying, like NEP is coming out with so much of cross-disciplinary, kind of options for children. You can pursue math and music together. You can pursue, dramatics and your sciences together. That is, I look at NEP 2020 as a complete pro-child policy, completely pro-child policy. And in fact, even once they move to the engineering and professional courses, I also see this welcome idea of children having the option of taking a sabbatical for a year or so and coming back with not being presented a certificate of discontinuation. That is a wonderful move, because that gives a little bit of breathing space for a child to come out of what the mainstream is, think, and settle himself properly and come back again. And art integration has become mandatory now, and this actually sets the tone. For example, in our schools also, we see that the music and dance teachers earn a little higher than even the academic teachers, isn't it? Though they may not be very highly qualified, but they are gifted in their skill, and they're so skilled that they take a couple of thousands more than the academic teachers. So that itself, we are convinced that every child should be allowed, firstly, convinced, and also ensured that a skill is on hand. That's very, very important, because that also sets the discipline for the child. It's not just about a skill on hand, the discipline, also the kind of pain that a technical person might go through. What is it a carpenter goes through while making a chair? That kind of, only when you know the hardship, you will have respect for the other job. right? So that is where the dignity of labor also comes in. When you are made to do what an Ayama does in the school, for one day, you will know the hardships of what she is facing. So I think these are things that are necessary for the child, to come out with that thought process that, any job is respectable, provided that I am convinced to do it, right? So it should become a mainstream subject rather than an additional subject. Moving on to, Ms. Manju, what do you think are the challenges, Ms. Manju, when we look at vocational education in schools in terms of infrastructure? Do you think it is really easy for us to start off, or what are the challenges, and what could be one or two solutions that you can provide?
No, I think the major challenge is the mindset of the parents. I think that needs to be changed. Like what Mansi said, that why should this vocational education program should come as a plan B, should be their plan A. And and having said that, I think one of the reason which I feel as an educationist is missing in schools, that we do celebrate a lot of, we celebrate a CBSE topper in year, we celebrate a school topper, so we do celebrate academics, maybe an amicable personality of the school. But how often do we celebrate or recognize the soft skills and the life skills that the children have? So I think it's very, very important that we at school level need to celebrate their work. How will they get motivated, unless, I think another thing that is required is that we need to give them that platform and resources. I would talk about in my school, like we do a lot of, we have a lot of project based learning. So I'm not talking about making a project, but it is a project-based program. So, the children it's like a process, so some would be contributing maybe, in an artwork, other would be, contributing in a presentation. So it's a very beautiful collaborative work that happens. But having said that, I want to share very interesting, incident with you, that we do have a very strong internship program in our school. The children are being sent to Helpage India, Gunj. So I specifically feel that social work, they do go to Times of India, to see how the printing and all happens. So we do give them a lot of exposure. So one of the child got so inspired, and he came back and he said, "Ma'am, I want to pursue social work." Believe me, next day the parent came to my school and said, "Ma'am, इसको कहाँ भेजते रहते हैं? कभी आप हेल्पेज इंडिया में भेज देते हैं, कभी आप गोंज पे भेज देते हैं, ये कुछ पढ़ाई वढ़ाई करेगा कि नहीं करेगा?" My school is set up in a background in Uttar Pradesh, और ये क्या करेगा, ये क्या कमाएगा, So that's the kind of a mindset, So I really had to spend a lot of time. I said, do you know that Delhi University have got masters in social work? Your child can take up masters in social work as a master's program. He can be in a corporate office looking after the corporate social responsibility of a large company. So what I want to set, and he can be a part, he can create his own NGO. मैंने उनको ये नहीं बताया कि आजकल NGOs बहुत earn करते हैं, तो probably, but I did tell them that there are so many options, which are open for their children. So I think they're so set in that mainstream education, and they generally feel vocation is probably for the children with special needs, or the children who are not too good in academics. So it should go to them. So I think here MEP is playing a huge role. Though if I take what Pritam ji said, we don't have to wait for MEP to come in. I mean, this kind of programs should start at the school level on their own. But कई बार क्या होता है कि अगर आपकी policy strong होती है, government उसको so implementation of such programs becomes faster when there is a monitoring system. But I'm so happy that vocational education from grade 6 onward, and like VN Chakravarthy, she said that it's 10-day bagless. I'm really excited as a principal of the school कि हम वो 10 दिन में क्या कुछ करेंगे अपने बच्चों के साथ, and the kind of exposure and celebrating their work. I think end of the day what I would say is हमें उनके काम को celebrate करना चाहिए, उनको recognize करना चाहिए. And if we, I think, able to do that, I think we will have more takers for this vocational education. And of course, teacher needs to be trained, and also teachers need to recognize children's work. At times I see even teachers tell them, din bhar yahi karte rahoge, no, why don't you do this? So I think that mindset needs to change. So yeah, my take on this is that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very wisely put. I think, celebrating technical education is definitely the need of the hour. I think we have to create our own hype, in schools. That hype has to be created that technical education is definitely the need of the hour. And on a war footing, every school must promote technical education, for the fact that, the children will become very, very skilled, okay, that it develops their competency, confidence, and they have their own discipline in terms of setting their goals and their future ready. With this, I think, that was a wonderful discussion. I must definitely thank Mr. Pritam, Dr. Mansi, and Ms. Manju Rana for having shared their wonderful views on technical education. I think whoever has been here to listen to this session, they will definitely be convinced that technical education in schools must, develop on a war footing so that it enables children to widen their horizons and their perspective. And I think once they go, most of the kids, especially from top-notch private schools, they go out to study. So, once they go out, they know as to what it is like studying abroad, how to depend on oneself, okay, how to do their own stuff. I think these things also come in handy for them. While I thank the panelists once again, I'll just take up this question that we have from the audience. Many edtech companies are offering various programs for students in coding, AI, etc. on paid basis. It creates huge burden on parents' pocket. Other than school fee, parents are in a dilemma, what to take and what to leave, and how can we overcome it? Well, I do understand that you have a lot of vendors who, sell these skills and programs, but we must not forget the fact with this internet, age, everything is very, very freely available. Okay, we have a lot of people who post videos on what AI is, how to go with coding, and they're all very, they're absolutely with no cost. So information today, we don't have to pay. It's there. It's available on the internet. In fact, besides that, we also have apps. Apps from the CBSE like Diksha and Siksha. So they are also coming out with free training programs. And it is for the parent to screen the videos, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. Screen it before you show it to the children and get them to have that kind of an understanding, what Ms. Manju said, getting them to visit industries wherever the students are or the children are, interested in, getting that a hang and a feel of what an industry is like, getting them to interact with the employees there. And I think among our own circles, we might have people who are already skilled in these areas, getting them to interview those people. And that actually, sets the very footing for the children. So thank you very much, panelists. It was wonderful having interacted with all of you. And I'm sure the audience, have a lot to take away. Thank you so much. Mr. Pritam, Ms. Mansi, and Ms. Manju.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chakravarthy ma'am, for the very thoughtful session and moderating the session very well. And thank you all the speakers to joining and well-derived viewpoints of all of yours. So moving on with the speaker certificate. Ms. Manju Rana, Principal cum Director, Seth, Anandram, Jaipuria School, Ghaziabad. Thank you, ma'am, for joining the session.
Thank you.
Ms. V. N. Chakravarthy, Principal, Pragathi Central School, Hyderabad. Thank you for joining the session and well moderated by you.
Thank you very much. And I must definitely thank the panelists. Very thoughtful and would love to be in touch with them.
Yes. Dr. Mansi Agrawal, Managing Director, Scotics Early Years, Delhi. And Mr. Pritam Kumar Aggarwal, Founder and Director, Bengaluru. Thank you all the panelists for providing your
Thank you very much. Thanks to all the audience as well.
Moving on with Deepak. Can you play the AV, please?
विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बाद के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूं, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू इंडिया टुमारो।